Here's your General Hospital recap on what happened in Port Charles today, Thursday, September 4th, 2025. At the Davis house, Ava brought the sleeping pills she got from Lucas. She gave them to Christina to use on Rick to keep him nice and docile during his stay at Casa Davis. They were surprised to hear a knock at the door that late in the evening. It was Dante who came to ask questions about the attempted murder of Drew. When Alexis walked in from the kitchen/back door area, Dante told her about Drew and asked if she could account for her whereabouts earlier. Alexis remained calm, but told him she wasn't going to answer any questions without counsel present. Since he didn't have a warrant or intent to arrest her, she asked him to leave. Dante said it didn't look good to not answer his questions, but she remained quiet. He then said someone would contact her about scheduling an interview with her lawyer present and left. Ava was practically giddy about hearing Drew and thought the credit belonged to Alexis. Alexis said she was actually downstairs with our house guest all night. Enjoying the moment, Ava said that nothing says I'm innocent like slipping in through the back door. Alexis told Ava and Christina they were going to be her alibi. At her apartment, Trina was looking at the copy of Heather Weber's test results that Kai found at Drew's house. Trina was surprised her mother went to such extremes to protect her and, alluding to Drew's shooting, asked Kai if he thought Portia was capable of doing something more extreme. Kai reassured her that he didn't think her mom would shoot Drew, who had a number of enemies who were far more dangerous than Portia. They felt the evidence of the test results needed to be destroyed so no one could connect them or Portia to Drew's shooting. As they lit the results on fire in the kitchen sink, Aunt Stella knocked at the door. She was worried because she hadn't heard from Curtis since he dropped her off at home. Kai got a call from Anna about Drew and left for the hospital. Stella told Trina she was afraid Curtis might have shot Drew. Nina arrived at the hospital looking for Willow, who wondered how Nina knew Drew was shot if she didn't hear it on the news. Nina, looking a bit suspicious, said she came to the hospital to see Willow and overheard some nurses talking about Drew. Anna and Chase were talking about Drew's shooting and the need to get out ahead of the media coverage and scrutiny. Anna wanted to secure their witnesses and all of the evidence before the media circus started. They began to compile a list of suspects: Alexis Davis, Carly Spencer, Michael Corinthos, Sonny Corinthos, Curtis Ashford, Willow Tate, and Nina Reeves. Anna asked Chase if he could still be objective if Willow were a suspect. Chase said he didn't think Willow would be capable of something like murder, but he could remain objective. They went over to ask Willow some questions about her whereabouts. Willow said she'd been at the hospital, except for when she went for a walk after getting the upsetting news of Judge Heron's murder. When Anna asked if Willow was alone on her walk, Nina lied and said she was with her. Anna looked skeptical and said they would need to question them separately, but Nina said she wasn't going to leave her daughter and volunteered to answer their questions there without a lawyer. Nina weakly improvised the fake details of walking with Willow. After Anna and Chase walked off, Anna said they were both lying, but they currently needed to concentrate on Michael, his timeline, and his whereabouts during the shooting. Willow was angry that Nina lied. When Nina said she did it to give Willow an alibi, Willow accused her of doing it to actually give herself one instead. They argued about who had more cause to shoot Drew. Anna called Kai to tell him about Drew and asked him to come to the hospital to answer a few questions. When Kai arrived, she asked if he'd noticed any altercations or meetings with Drew that didn't go so well. She then asked if he and anyone else had a key to Drew's house. He said he did, as well as Scout, Chelsea, Wanda, Willow, and maybe Alexis Davis. She appreciated his help. Meanwhile, in the OR, Lucas and Portia were scrubbing in for Drew's surgery. They needed to find 2 bullets that were close to his spine. Portia maintained a strange look on her face, but stayed professional. They removed the first bullet successfully, but the second bullet was deeper and up against his spine and an artery. Lucas warned that if they didn't time the removal of the bullet and stop the bleeding perfectly, it could kill Drew. As they were about to start on the second bullet, she flashed back to Drew, trying to get her to alter Michael's test results. Immediately after Lucas extracted the bullet, Portia said it must have been lodged in the artery because he was hemorrhaging. Drew quickly slipped into VTOC and crashed. As Nina and Willow were arguing, Portia and Lucas came out from surgery. They told Willow, Nina, Kai, and Anna that Drew hemorrhaged and coded for several minutes, but they repaired the artery. Lucas said Portia saved Drew's life. He was in critical condition, but they were optimistic he'd be stable soon. Anna left a message for Chase about Drew making it out of surgery. In an ending montage, she said, "Between the congressman's abuse of his political power and his salacious personal entanglements, there are multiple suspects with ample motive. He's wronged a lot of people. We don't know if the crime was born of revenge or righteous indignation, if it was someone driven to protect or someone driven by passion. What we do know is that these suspects are deeply entrenched in Port Charles, well-connected, and perhaps most importantly, dangerously close to the victim. Which means we have to remain vigilant, because whoever did this is walking amongst us. And we can't rest until we find out who pulled the trigger." In the Quartermain kitchen, Michael and Brooke Lynn were talking when Tracy arrived in a t-shirt and sweats. The police took her clothes as evidence since they had Drew's blood on them. Michael remained stoic when Tracy told them Drew was shot and in surgery. She was still worried how she was going to tell Monica. Despite everything Drew had done, Tracy said Monica still saw Drew as Alan's son and was worried she'd be too fragile to hear the news. Tracy asked that Brooke Lynn work with Yuri to keep Monica away from her TV and devices so she wouldn't hear the news yet. Brooke Lynn left. When Michael said he was sorry Tracy had to find Drew, she told him not to be sorry but to be grateful because she knew he was there too. Tracy saw Michael parked up the street from Drew's house and saw him pull away. She immediately stopped him when he tried to explain what he was doing there because she didn't want to hear anything she might have to repeat on a witness stand. However, she felt if she saw him there, someone else likely did too. Tracy told Michael that if anything happened to him, it would be the end of Monica, so he needed to get himself an alibi. After Michael left, Brooke Lynn came back. Tracy talked about how awful it was to find Drew. Seeing his body, she felt compassion, but after the paramedics took him, her fury set in. She was angry that he'd finally pushed someone so far that they shot him. Tracy said Drew wanted everything Michael had and tried to dismantle Michael's life to get it. Chase arrived and said he needed their help to figure out what happened. Since Michael wasn't there to question, Chase asked Tracy and Brooke Lynn questions about Michael's whereabouts earlier. Lulu met with her Uncle Martin at the Port Charles Grill. He said he had a story that could establish Lulu as the foremost investigative journalist in Port Charles. However, he wanted complete anonymity because he was going to break attorney-client privilege, which would ruin his reputation and could get him disbarred. Lulu said no outlet would run a bombshell story without attribution because they'd be held liable. Because of that, she felt she couldn't take the story, but then Martin told her it involved Drew. He said Drew was guilty of corruption and abuse of office because he used his position to target Stella Henry as part of a personal vendetta against Curtis Ashford. Martin couldn't provide concrete evidence, but felt Lulu could find something to confirm his accusation. He felt if she could expose Drew, it would keep Ezra Boyle from beating Laura for mayor and save Stella. Lulu said she could expose Drew, but, unfortunately, wouldn't be able to save Stella if she was legally guilty. Martin hoped exposing Drew would be able to cast enough shade on the situation to help Stella's case. Lulu agreed to look into it, but cautioned him to manage his expectations. As he was thanking her, he caught a call about Drew's shooting. Michael came back to the restaurant looking for a woman he was talking to earlier. Speaking to a waiter, Michael said he was there earlier and talked to a woman who was blonde, attractive, and around his age. The waiter remembered seeing them, but said he didn't know who the woman was, and, since Michael picked up her check, he wouldn't be able to pull a name for him either. Jordan met Curtis at the Brown Dog. He'd said he needed a friend, and she always showed up for him. He told her that his marriage to Portia was over, which surprised Jordan. When they sat to talk, Curtis said he couldn't be with Portia anymore because he couldn't trust her. Curtis went on to talk about Portia's insecurities, mistrust, and her mindset of lying. He went on to say that he was noticing a lot more similarities between him and Jordan than he had with Portia. Jordan encouraged him to give him and Portia some time and breathing room to have a chance to remember what was good in their marriage. Curtis said it wouldn't matter because Portia didn't think they had a chance and had said the only reason he was ever with her was because he had been rebounding from Jordan. When Jordan asked Curtis if he thought Portia was right, he said he didn't know. Jordan got a text about Drew's attempted murder. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. Here are your General Hospital spoilers for Friday, September 5th, 2025. It's a bad week for Alan Quartermain's twin sons. First, someone shot Drew in the back twice, leaving his life on the line. On Friday, someone takes a shot at Drew's twin brother, Jason. Stone Cold makes it back to the Five Poppies after Britt's frantic phone call and starts looking around. He is also in for quite a shock. Does it have to do with the bullets that go flying, or does he discover that Jocelyn is a WSB agent? It was a shock to Britt, and it will be an even bigger shock to Jason, but just until he tells Carly. Joss and Vaughn may have tried to escape using Britt's manicure scissors, but they are tied up again in record time as Joss asks Vaughn if he'd really sacrifice his life for hers. Everyone suspects everyone of being the one to shoot Drew. In fact, Diane asks Sunny which member of the Corinthos clan she will be defending. Nina and Portia discuss the shooting and how the timing was so fortunate because they wanted Drew gone, or at least incapacitated. Lulu does her own investigating and wants to ask Willow some questions about Drew. But what will a very nervous Willow say? She seemed devastated that Drew was shot, but not long before, she seemed disgusted by him. Alexis has to figure out who is going to take care of Scout. Drew might have taken out a restraining order against Scout's entire maternal side of the family, but since he can't take care of her right now, somebody has to. Alexis suggests bringing Scout to her house after her Lila's kids' sleepover, but Christina nixes the idea immediately. After all, they have Rick chained to a gurney in the basement with a ball gag in his mouth. What if Scout discovers him? How would they ever explain that sight to a little girl? On General Hospital, Carly Spencer has been known to fall for complicated men, and Jack Brennan is no exception. Once a dangerous WSB agent, Brennan has shifted into a more ambiguous role in Port Charles, where his charm and apparent devotion to Carly have both intrigued and alarmed viewers. The twist, of course, is that Brennan is keeping a dark secret involving Carly's daughter, Jocelyn, a revelation that could destroy their budding connection. The fanbase, as always with Carly's romantic entanglements, is split right down the middle. For some General Hospital fans, Carly and Brennan's chemistry has been undeniable, despite the storm clouds gathering. On Stone Cold and the Jackal's Instagram page, otherwise known as Steve Burton and Bradford Anderson's collaborative page, a screenshot of Carly and Jack talking was posted. It was captioned, "Carly's rock or her ruin." Little does Carly know, Brennan is hiding a dangerous secret about Jocelyn. Is Jack truly Carly's rock in her time of need, or is she falling straight into the arms of danger? The fans were all over it with @MichaelMT88 gushing, "They are so great together. Hopefully she finds way past everything he is the best for her." At Lisa Blum 524 added, "It's kind of sad. I liked them together. I wonder if they'll get past it once she finds out." The fan was referring to the fact that Jack recruited Carly's daughter, Jocelyn, as an intelligence agent for the WSB. If Carly ever finds out, she's going to have a conniption. Supporters point out that Brennan has been Carly's rock in recent weeks, and @Jacqueline Olive McCulloch reinforced that belief with, "He is Carly's rock." Others simply enjoy the freshness Brennan brings to the canvas, offering Carly something different from her usual on-again, off-again dynamics with Sunny or Jason. @Twinkles Levin cheered, "Love them so much," echoing the sentiment that this pairing gives General Hospital a new spark. On the other side, plenty of General Hospital viewers feel Carly is making a huge mistake by letting Brennan into her life. @Renee K4 wrote, "I am not feeling these two as a couple anyway, so I'm ready for it to be done." Others brought up Jason's warning from earlier in the storyline, with @Mrs. Carr Sinkteets reminding, "Jason told her from the jump to avoid him." Some were even more direct, with @Omarik simply declaring, "Jack is dangerous." The strongest backlash has centered on Brennan's choices regarding Jocelyn. @Not247 commented, "Carly will be angry and feel this is a huge betrayal from how much she's told Brennan her kids mean to her." @Sinsidicic fumed, "I hate Brennan for doing this to Carly and Joss so much." For these fans, Brennan isn't a viable romantic lead, but rather a walking red flag. And if Carly ignores the warnings, she'll pay dearly. Whether Carly follows her heart or learns the truth the hard way, viewers are hooked by the debate. At the very least, the story gets fans talking, discussing, and debating. Love him or hate him, Jack Brennan has become one of General Hospital's most interesting characters, and pairing him with Carly is a supreme roll of the dice. General Hospital recap for Thursday, September 4th, reveals that Nina Reeves lied to the cops about taking a walk with Willow Tate, while Michael Corinthos found out his car was spotted near the crime scene. At the Quartermaine mansion, Tracy gave Michael and Brooke Lynn Quartermaine updates on Drew Cain's shooting. Since Tracy was adamant about keeping Monica Quartermaine in the dark for now, Brooke Lynn went to check on her and make sure she stayed away from the media. Once Tracy was alone with Michael, she admitted she knew he was at Drew's place earlier. Since Tracy saw Michael's car parked up the street before he pulled away, she told him to get an alibi and avoid telling her anything she'd have to say on the witness stand. At the Brown Dog Bar, Curtis Ashford told Jordan Ashford about the end of his marriage before she received info from an old PCPD colleague about Drew's shooting. At Trina Robinson's apartment, she burned the evidence against Portia Robinson with Kai Taylor by her side. The pair scrambled to make sure the fire was out as Stella Henry arrived out of the blue. Stella smelled smoke and had questions, but Trina lied about accidentally setting a magazine ablaze. Trina also claimed to be working on something with Kai, but Stella was there on the hunt for Curtis Ashford. Anna Devane called Kai to the hospital to answer questions, so he feigned shock over the shooting and rushed over after changing clothes. Kai was asked if Drew might have had any tense meetings lately, but Kai lied about not being aware of any. Since the cops thought maybe the shooter used a key, Anna confirmed that Kai had one. Kai rattled off a long list of other people who had keys too, so Anna thanked him for being so helpful. Back with Stella, she voiced concerns to Trina about Curtis and the possibility that he might have tried to wipe out Drew. In the OR, Lucas Jones and Portia Robinson got to work on Drew along with the rest of the team. Lucas removed one bullet, but the second one was trickier due to how close it was to an artery. Portia flashed back to feuding with Drew like she was contemplating whether to sabotage the things, but she ultimately performed her duties. Drew coded after hemorrhaging and had to be revived, but he made it through the surgery in the end. Next, Nina Reeves checked on Willow since she heard about Drew's shooting. Willow wondered how Nina knew, so Nina claimed she heard some nurses talking about it. Anna and Harrison Chase tried to grill Willow alone, but Nina refused to allow it. Nina also piped up about going on Willow's walk with her and made up information as she went along to answer the cops' questions. Anna could tell that Nina was lying, but she talked to Chase about looking into other suspects and mentioned Michael specifically. Chase wound up at the Quartermaine mansion, where he quizzed Tracy and Brooke Lynn about Michael's whereabouts this evening. Back with Willow, she ripped into Nina for deceiving the police, but Nina was adamant that she was helping by giving Willow an alibi. Willow acted like Nina was the one who needed the alibi and felt her mom had more of a motive to go after Drew. Lucas eventually delivered news on Drew pulling through his surgery and credited Portia with saving his life, so Willow hugged her. At the Port Charles Grill, Lulu Spencer met with Martin Gray, who was willing to break attorney-client privilege and secretly supply info for a story against Drew. Martin pushed for help for Stella's sake, but Lulu wanted him to manage his expectations since Stella was still guilty. Even so, Martin hoped that maybe the whole investigation would be tainted if vengeful Drew was revealed to be behind it. Since Martin was still listed as one of Drew's emergency contacts, he got a phone call from GH about Drew's shooting and told Lulu. Later, Michael found an employee and hoped to track down the blonde woman he was with earlier. The employee remembered, but he had no way to help. Lulu cornered Michael to fish for information about how long he'd been with Tracy tonight, but he realized what she was doing and said, "No comment." At Alexis Davis' place, Ava Jerome brought sleeping pills for Rick Lansing and was with Christina Corinthos Davis when Dante Falconeri arrived. Dante seemed suspicious over Ava's presence and eventually questioned Alexis about her whereabouts this evening once she appeared. Despite Dante's attempt to get Alexis to cooperate in the Drew investigation, she refused without her attorney present. Dante realized he'd have to set up a formal interview and took off. That gave Alexis a chance to speak with Christina and Ava alone, so she assured them of her innocence since she was with their basement hostage all evening. Of course, Rick couldn't be used as an alibi, so Alexis insisted Christina and Ava were going to be her alibi instead. Ava relented and suggested they should spend some time making it airtight. General Hospital spoilers reveal that 4 September shockers are coming up, so fans will see some big confessions, new couples, and more. Let's talk about what's ahead for some key players on the ABC soap. 1. Jocelyn and Vaughn embrace romance after Mission wins down. Jocelyn Jax and Vaughn clearly got in over their heads at the Five Poppies Resort, but they'll both thankfully make it out of this mission alive. That's great news for multiple reasons, including the fact that it'll give Vaughn and Jocelyn a chance to explore their feelings for each other. Vaughn and Jocelyn hit the sheets in a difficult, emotional moment while the mission was in progress. Things will be a lighter once the assignment's over, so Jocelyn and Vaughn will embrace a fun romance, even if they aren't sure exactly where it'll lead. 2. Molly tells Cody what's in her heart. As for Molly Lansing Davis, she'll get honest about how she feels when it comes to Cody Bell. Molly will come clean about what's in her heart, so it sounds like Cody will be on the receiving end of her confession. Cody has feelings for Molly as well, so he may make an admission of his own. Will Molly and Cody kiss, or even land in bed together once they're finally on the same page? 3. Emma and Gio lock lips for the first time. Many GH fans have been eagerly awaiting Giovanni Gio Palmieri and Emma Scorpio Drake's first kiss, but the wait is almost over. That's because Emma and Gio will indeed share a smooch for the first time in September. Gio and Emma have built a wonderful friendship, but they both want more deep down. Once Emma and Gio take this first step out of the friend zone, they can see how they feel about moving forward as a couple. 4. Isaiah wants a real future with Portia. Isaiah Gannon and Portia Robinson started off as friends too, but now they've crossed the line into lovers. Portia will continue to steal sizzling moments with Isaiah, but he won't want to just be a hookup partner. Isaiah is already falling for Portia, so it looks like he'll admit he wants a real future with her. It's still early in their romance, but Isaiah will have a good feeling about where things could go between them. Of course, Portia is technically still married to Curtis Ashford, but she feels certain a divorce is inevitable. Will Portia make a commitment to Isaiah, or hold off since she's a little on the rebound right now? General Hospital spoilers for Friday, September 5th reveal that Jason Morgan will get shot at while Willow Tate is asked to speak off the record. Christina Corinthos Davis will also have a meltdown related to Scout Kane. So let's discuss what's ahead in Port Charles. First, Diane Miller will meet with Sonny Corinthos and ask who she should be preparing to defend. Sonny could be a suspect in Drew Kane's shooting, but he may be more concerned for Michael Corinthos. Tracy Quartermain saw Michael parked near Drew's house and urged him to find an alibi, but Sonny will also speak with Diane and get her help in case there's trouble. Michael will also receive some new information on Friday's episode, so we'll see if that intel casts suspicion on someone else. In the meantime, Christina will freak out when Alexis Davis apparently suggests bringing Scout to stay at her place while Drew's hospitalized. Christina will insist that'd be the worst thing, and may remind Alexis that she's currently holding Rick Lansing hostage in the basement. Not to mention Drew's restraining orders are still in effect. Next, Portia Robinson will speak with Nina Reeves and call something implausible and yet so fortunate. Portia may doubt Nina's story about taking a walk with Willow, considering their estrangement. Nina indeed lied to the cops, so that could lead to bad news for her, along with Willow eventually. As for Willow, she'll face questions from Lulu Spencer at GH. Lulu will approach Willow and push her to speak off the record, so we'll see if Willow declines or perhaps plays up how outraged she is over Drew's attempted murder. Willow will keep doing whatever she can to look innocent, but there's still a chance she's to blame for Drew almost losing his life. Meanwhile, Anna Devane will warn Jack Brennan that he owes her before vowing to collect. Brennan will put his manipulation skills to good use, but Anna won't let him truly get away with that. There could be some talk about Brennan being Carly Spencer's alibi, but Anna will also want updates on Jocelyn Jack's and Vaughn's WSB assignment. Brennan may try to trick Anna into thinking everything's running smoothly, but she may fear the mission's taken a dangerous turn. That's definitely what happened, and unfortunately, the danger won't be over yet, since Vaughn and Jocelyn's escape attempt will be thwarted. Jocelyn will be tied up with Vaughn again, so that'll bring a deep conversation about whether he really would have sacrificed his life for her own. While Vaughn and Jocelyn worry about facing a grim fate in captivity, Jason will return to the Five Poppies Resort and face a risky situation of his own. Someone with a gun will fire in Jason's direction, so he'll duck and attempt to avert disaster. Now that the investigation is underway into Drew's shooting, Tracy has revealed the person she caught at Drew's house during the September 4th, 2025 episode of General Hospital. When Tracy got home from the police station, she ran into Brooklyn and Michael, who wondered why she was dressed in sweats. She told them it was because her clothes were covered in blood, and that was when she revealed that she found Drew shot. When it was just Tracy and Michael left in the kitchen, she told her great-nephew that he should be lucky it was her who found Drew, because she won't tell anyone that he was also at Drew's house. Michael remained silent as Tracy informed him she had seen him parked down the street from Drew's house and saw him drive away, demanding he secure an alibi before the cops come questioning. Michael wound up in the Port Charles Grill in search of a woman he supposedly shared a drink with earlier that night. But when she couldn't be found, Michael found himself alibi-less just as Chase arrived at the Q mansion for questioning. While the list of suspects piled in for the PCPD, Lucas and Portia began Drew's surgery to remove the bullets. The second bullet became a risky move, and as Portia thought back on everything Drew put her through, she may or may not have accidentally botched the surgery, nicking an artery. Of course, by the time the surgery ended, they had stopped the hemorrhage and saved Drew's life, much to the dismay of many in Port Charles. Only one person truly knows who shot the congressman, and it may be a while before anyone finds out. While the September 5th GH takes a break from the Drew drama to focus on Joss and Vaughn's hostage situation, who do you think the PCPD will nail for the shooting? Let us know in the comments section. General Hospital sees Drew Kane Quartermain out of surgery, but in critical condition with 2 bullet wounds in his back, leaving the huge question of who pulled the trigger, who shot Drew. There are some red flags about Willow Tate, but also about some other people, including some of the mob men in Port Charles. Right now, Drew almost died in surgery. The shooter clearly meant to end his life. 2 bullets in the back means they were not playing around. Could Willow be so angry and feel like she's not with her kids because of Drew, and she's the one who tried to kill him? In a recent video, we leaked that Drew was going to be targeted. Our source was saying either stabbed or shot. They were right about the attack and all this other stuff, but it was a gun that took him down. They also leaked about the framing we're going to talk about. But who's got a gun lying around their house, except mobsters like Sonny Corinthos and Jen Sidwell, and cops like Dante Falconeri, Harrison Chase, and of course, Anna Devane? Or WSB spies like Jack Brennan and Colette Moreau? Most of Port Charles isn't walking around packing heat. Jason Morgan is, but he isn't even in town, so he's got a rock-solid alibi. Bottom line, we've got a whodunit on our hands. The list of people who want Drew dead is basically the Port Charles phone book. If they still made a phone book, that would be the suspect list. But our leaker also said he's going to survive, and we're definitely seeing red flags about that too. It definitely seems like this is going to be a full-blown mystery. When Willow heard that Portia Robinson saved his life after Drew crashed in surgery, she did thank her and seemed sincere, but that doesn't really take Willow off the suspect list. We're going to talk more about why it might have been Drew's ex-fiancée that shot him. But first, let's look at some others on the list real quick. Nina Reeves and Alexis Davis both want Drew dead because of family. When Christina Corinthos Davis came home during the rainstorm, she was calling out to Alexis, but she wasn't there. General Hospital was trying to make it seem like Alexis might not have an alibi for Drew's shooting. But Alexis says she was downstairs with Rick Lansing, who of course she can't use as her official alibi. So Ava, Jerome, and Christina are going to have to be her alibi, which may seem strange to the PCPD, given that Ava and Christina's dislike of each other is very well known. And Alexis and Ava are not close by any means. Why would they have all been together? I think Chase is going to feel like they're lying, kind of like he felt like he was being lied to at the hospital today. We also know with Nina, she doesn't want Willow back in Drew's life, and she was worried that they were going to reunite. Nina told Portia that as long as Drew is breathing, Willow won't be free, and Portia said, "None of them will." Those two were saying that while they were having drinks, and then the bartender came back by their table, and Nina and Portia were gone, and there was money on the table. They were out of there. They might have conspired against Drew again. Maybe they worked together and shot him because later at General Hospital, Nina gave Willow an alibi. She told Chase that they were out for a walk together. But he knows they're estranged, so he thought that was dodgy and they were lying. Willow accused her mom, Nina, of trying to use her as an alibi. That makes Nina look guiltier and Willow slightly less so, just based on that conversation alone. But it's not enough to take Willow completely off the suspect list. We've also got the Ashford family, Portia, Curtis Ashford, and Trina Robinson. We know Kai Taylor was with Trina during the shooting, so she has got a solid alibi, even though they're going to have a hard time explaining where they were. Plus, Trina lacks that killer instinct. Curtis flat out threatened to kill Drew, and Kai heard it. And Portia truly despises the man. As I said, she might have worked with Nina. However, I don't think Curtis would have shot Drew in the back. Maybe in the front, but not in the back. For Portia and Nina, I tend to think they would drug him or set up a robbery gone wrong scenario. Plus, Portia was busy getting busy with Dr. Isaiah Gannon when Drew was shot, from the way it looked on the show. Then we've got the Corinthos culprits on the list. Carly Corinthos Spencer, Michael Corinthos, and Sonny Corinthos. Carly hates Drew. She is in the club that wouldn't mind seeing him dead. Elizabeth Baldwin heard that. But I feel like she is a red herring. Carly had no real reason to step out of the lines and kill Drew because he was losing and her side was winning. Michael can be sketchy when he needs to, but he didn't need to kill Drew. However, Michael doesn't have an alibi, and he was in the area because Tracy Quartermain saw his car parked down the block right near Drew's house. That makes Michael look culpable, and Tracy told him, "Find an alibi and don't say anything else to me about any of this." As for Sonny, I think we all know he would enjoy shooting Drew once or twice or 5 times, but the timing makes it all wrong because Sonny was very worried that the custody case judge had just died in Michael and Willow's case. Sonny knows eyes are already on him, and then Drew getting shot would definitely point to him. He wouldn't have done that. Also of note, in a recent interview, Cameron Matheson compared this Drew shooting storyline to the big heyday story on Dallas back in the day. Who shot JR? And we all know JR didn't die. That's one more sign that Drew won't die. But the shooter might creep into General Hospital and try and finish him off. My top candidate for this shooting is other mobster Sidwell or his son Marco Rios. They needed the judge silenced, and then, poof, she's face down in the water, dead. Sidwell needed her silence because Marco ran his mouth, and then Drew was running around talking about the judge bribery that Marco told him, so he needed silenced. Both of these deaths benefit Sidwell a lot. However, Willow went MIA in the middle of her shift at General Hospital and came back soaking wet and upset. She could have walked to Drew's and shot him and came back to GH, but I still feel like she's a red herring. If it were Sidwell, though, he might be able to frame someone else because he's got Alexis's fingerprints on the Cassadine dagger. And you can do sneaky science, and you can transfer fingerprints from one thing to another if you have an expert and know what you are doing. Our leaker did say Alexis is probably going to wind up framed. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think Drew knows who his shooter is since he was shot in the back. Once he wakes up, we'll find out what he knows. I don't think he saw anybody, but he's probably going to have some ideas about who did it. But again, the problem is too many people want him dead, so he can't tell the police. This one person wanted me dead. It's like, oh, all these people hated me and want me dead. Right now, until other evidence presents itself, My gut says this was probably Sidwell. Although I think it would be great if it was Willow. I mean, she might have been leading Drew on to see if he could get her kids back, but then snapped when the custody judge was killed, since Chase told Willow that he was working on the judge to grant visitation. The corridors of General Hospital have seen their fair share of heartbreak, but nothing could have prepared Port Charles for the dark twist surrounding Drew Cain's shooting. What began as whispers of tragedy soon ignited into a firestorm of suspicion, betrayal, and shattered trust. While the city mourned Drew as a fallen victim, one young woman carried the truth and chose silence. Trina's shocking knowledge. For years, Trina Robinson has been the voice of reason, a principled young woman who always fought for justice. But after Drew's violent end, everything changed. Through a slip of the tongue, an overheard conversation, and her own sharp instincts, Trina pieced together the identity of the shooter. Yet instead of running to Dante, Anna, or even her mother, Trina kept the truth locked away. Her silence wasn't born of fear, it was born of anger. Drew's manipulations had torn her family apart, poisoned her bond with Portia, and broken Curtis, the man she once looked up to. To Trina, Drew's downfall wasn't a tragedy. It was justice long overdue. A different kind of justice. In protecting the shooter, Trina rewrote her own moral code. No longer the bright, outspoken young woman Salem knew, she became distant, colder, and far more guarded. Portia chalked it up to trauma, while Spencer grew frustrated at her evasiveness, but deep down, Trina believed that her silence wasn't betrayal, it was balance. For once, power and manipulation hadn't won. The ripple effect in Port Charles. Meanwhile, chaos spread like wildfire. Investigations twisted in the wrong directions, suspects lined up for crimes they hadn't committed, and Drew's name was whispered as both hero and villain. The town clung to the image of a man who sought justice, yet Trina knew better. Behind the grief and memorials lay the scars of his choices, and she wasn't about to erase them. A secret that changes everything. As Judge Heron's death confirmed the depth of corruption Drew had unearthed, Port Charles began to unravel. Drew's relentless pursuit of secrets had caught up to him, leaving his family devastated and his enemies emboldened. And through it all, Trina stood silent, her burden growing heavier by the day. Because for Trina, this wasn't just a mystery. This was resolution. And no one, not Dante, not Anna, not even her mother, could make her betray it. Her silence wasn't just a secret. Port Charles NY, veteran WSB agent and former police commissioner Anna Devane has unraveled global conspiracies and dismantled spy networks. But nothing could have prepared her for the spiraling madness consuming Port Charles. The shooting of Drew Cain has ripped open a Pandora's box of secrets and betrayals, transforming the investigation into a chaotic hunt where nearly everyone is a suspect. Initially, the case felt like a tangled web of motives. Drew's ruthless pursuit of power had left a long list of enemies, and the crime scene reflected that chaos. The forensics report on fingerprints, which Anna hoped would provide clarity, did the opposite. Instead of pointing to a single culprit, the prints implicated half the town. Traces from Portia and Trina raised questions of timing, while Alexis Davis's prints, though potentially explainable, placed her firmly in the circle of suspicion. From the Quartermains to Martin Gray, it seemed every recent visitor to Drew's home had a reason to want him silenced, turning the investigation into a frustrating exercise in untangling grudges. Just as Anna began to navigate this labyrinth of suspects, a game-changing discovery sent a shockwave through the investigation. The forensics team delivered a stunning update. 2 distinct sets of fingerprints were found at the heart of the crime scene on the weapon's casing and the doorframe where Drew collapsed. The implication was immediate and terrifying. This was not a lone wolf acting on impulse. It was a coordinated strike. 2 people had conspired to take Drew down. This revelation reframed the entire case. What once looked like random chaos now appeared to be carefully orchestrated manipulation. The attackers had successfully hidden within the crowd of Drew's enemies, using the city's widespread resentment to cover their tracks. Anna realized she was no longer hunting a single shooter, but a partnership. forcing her to re-examine every alibi and motive through the lens of a conspiracy. Could Curtis's rage over Stella's ruined career have aligned with Nina's fury over Drew's betrayal? The possible pairings were endless and chilling. For Anna, however, the adjustment became devastatingly personal. The more she dug into the evidence, the more the trail pointed not toward distant enemies, but toward her own inner circle. The names that kept surfacing, Carly Spencer, Nina Reeves, even Jason Morgan, whose silence has been deafening, forced Anna into an impossible position. She is now caught in a cruel paradox. To uphold the law, she may have to investigate, interrogate, and ultimately arrest the very people she trusts and cares for. The obsession to find the truth has become a dangerous personal quest. Each step forward risks shattering the fragile bonds of loyalty that hold her life together. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.